Although he lacks executive experience, the Romney campaign hopes Ryan's youthful energy will help lead them to the White House. Joanna Hatcher, ABC News.
Well, for more on Mitt Romney's announcement, let's bring in Tom Switzer, Research Associate at the US Studies Centre. Tom, good to see you.
Andrew.
Now, look, this is likely to polarise voters, isn't it? But I guess on the Conservative side of politics, they're talking about re-energising Mitt Romney's campaign.
Yes, well, Mitt Romney's been bogged down by a series of gaffes and missteps during the northern summer, so he needs something to really kickstart his campaign. I think this is a very bold, courageous choice. On the one hand, you know, Ryan brings a lot of energy and youth to the ticket, but he is a political grown-up. He takes ideas very seriously. He will rally the Conservative base, as you say. But on the other hand, it allows the Democrat strategists to portray the Republicans as a party of the wealthy, tax cuts for the rich at the expense of the poor and middle class. And this will now be a referendum on two competing ideas for America. Do they go down this pro-reform, deregulatory path, or do they embrace a let government solve it liberalism?
Just before we get on to Paul Ryan's fiscal agenda, just look at the fact that he is young, isn't he? He's, 42 years of age, yet he does have experience. He's been in Washington for some 14 years.
Indeed, he was elected to Congress in 1998, but that's true. He has a lot of Washington experience, but no private sector experience and very little foreign policy experience. So he, in many respects, is a wild card candidate. The last time a congressman, a representative from the House of Representatives, was on a national ticket was in 1984 when the Democrat candidate Walter Mondale selected Geraldine Ferraro. They lost in one of the biggest landslides in election history. Not that this will be like this at all, but it's a big risk. Usually they run a governor or a senator for the running mate.
Now, he is renowned as a fiscal hawk. And in fact, since 2007, he has chaired the Congressional Budgetary Commission, or committee, which essentially oversees the federal budget, doesn't it?
Indeed, yes. So he's the most prominent legislator, if you like, in the House of Representatives. He's the chairman of the Budget Committee. Look, increasingly America has had this debate about how best to reform government, reduce the size of government so that the country doesn't go bankrupt. He, in many respects, represents the pro-reform conservative side of the political debate. But this presents wonderful opportunities for the Democrats. They will be able to say who will best protect Medicare and Medicaid, who will best be able to protect welfare entitlements. You know, this will be the real debate now. Now, to be fair to Ryan, he's a highly intelligent, articulate guy. This choice is a far cry from the Sarah Palin pick from 4 years ago, so he'll be able to argue his case. But in many respects, the referendum now will be not so much on Obama and the jobs and his economic record. It will also be a referendum on the direction in which Mitt Romney and the Republicans want to take the country.
Let's just look at further where he's going with this, particularly as far as his fiscal record. Now, he proposed an alternative budget for this financial year, which he called the Path to Prosperity. Now, essentially what he's proposed is savings of some $260 billion by cutting pensions and food aid, dismantling Obama's healthcare and lowering taxes, halving corporate tax. Now, obviously, that's a red flag to the Democrats.
It is, and they're licking their lips at this. But on the other hand, bear in mind, his policy is also complemented by getting rid of a lot of loopholes for big corporate donors and fat cats on Wall Street. So that's the way of cutting the size of government, not just by slashing these services, but also reforming the tax code and fiddling with the loopholes, which is a real problem in American politics.
Just a couple of comments that I've read. The Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, a Democrat, said Romney's choice demonstrates that just catering to the Tea Party and the far right is more important to him than standing up for the middle class. I guess there's no surprise he's going to say that.
Yeah, but bear in mind, in 2010, the Tea Party and the Republicans did very well in those midterm elections. The Republicans won 60 seats, which was quite extraordinary. But look, the bottom line here, whenever anyone talks about American politics today, they have to start with the premise that Americans are in a very foul mood. They aren't really loyal to many parties. The bases of both parties are shrinking. Americans ideologically define themselves as conservative by a margin of 2-1 over liberals. But then again, when push turns to shove and there will be a lot of scare campaign attack ads against Paul Ryan and the Republicans saying that they won't protect Medicare and Medicaid and welfare entitlements. That's when push turns to shove, and it'll be interesting to see how voters, especially in those battleground states, react.
Now, Mitt Romney is trailing in the latest polls, the opinion polls. Will this selection of Paul Ryan swing that momentum, do you think?
It can only help him in the short term, I think, because it'll generate a lot of enthusiasm for the Republican Party and the national ticket. It'll also help with donations. A lot of Republican donors have been nervous about Mitt Romney because he's a man of really he lacks core convictions. He's seen as a bit of a flip-flopper. Ryan, on the other hand, is a conviction politician, core conservative values. This will rally the base. The key question, though, in the general election is to what extent will it help win over independents and swing battleground states.
Tom Switzer, thanks for your analysis.
Thanks, Andrew.